The United States became the most powerful nation on Earth. But what if everything you know is incomplete? Because behind the success, there's a darker story. This is not the version you learned in school. This is the side of history most people never talk about. Because the rise of America was not just built on freedom, it was also built on conflict, on sacrifice, and on decisions that changed millions of lives forever. When European settlers arrived in the early 1600s, they didn't discover an empty land. This land was already home to millions of Native Americans. For Aleph years, they had built civilizations, cultures, and communities. But to the settlers, this land represented opportunity, and expansion came at a cost. Treaties were made and broken. Land was taken, often by force. Entire communities were pushed aside as new colonies expanded. This wasn't just growth, it was displacement. As the colonies grew, they needed labor, and that's where one of the darkest chapters begins. Millions of Africans were brought across the Atlantic in chains, stripped of freedom, forced into slavery. They worked on plantations, building wealth they would never share. Generations lived and died, without rights, without choice. This system didn't just exist, it powered the economy. It helped turn a struggling group of colonies into something much stronger, but at a human cost that is impossible to measure. As America grew, it didn't stop. It expanded westward, faster and faster, driven by a belief that this land was meant to be theirs. This idea became known as manifest destiny. But expansion wasn't peaceful. It meant conflict. It meant war. It meant more land taken and more people displaced. Native tribes were forced from their homes. One of the most tragic moments was the Trail of Tears. Thousands were forced to walk long distances under brutal conditions. Many didn't survive. America was growing stronger, but the cost kept rising. Eventually, the tension within the country itself exploded. Slavery became the breaking point. In 1861, the nation went to war with itself. North versus South, brother versus brother. Led by Abraham Lincoln, the Union fought to preserve the nation and end slavery. The war was brutal, one of the deadliest in history. When it ended, slavery was abolished, but the divisions did not disappear. After the war, America transformed. Factories, railroads, industry. The country became richer, more powerful, more influential. Immigrants arrived from around the world, chasing opportunity. And in the 20th century, America stepped onto the global stage. In World War I and World War II, it didn't just participate, it helped shape the outcome. By the end of World War II, the United States stood stronger than ever. It had become a superpower, but power always has a story behind it. Not just of success, but of struggle, of conflict, and of consequences. The rise of America is one of the most powerful stories in history, but it's also one of the most complex, because behind every moment of progress, there were choices, and every choice had a cost. This is not rewriting history. It's about understanding it, because the real story is never just one side. This is Untold America. Subscribe and discover the stories they never taught you.